Good evening. It is 5 p.m. and welcome to the April 21st, 2025 Public Safety Committee meeting. I am Chair Rob Watton. Tonight's meeting is being recorded and will be available on the city's website. Thank you for joining us. And it's nice to have a crowd in the audience. I bet it might have something to do with sunny weather, spring break, and maybe e-bikes. So thank you for being here. I'm going to start off with the roll call, and the following committee members are present. Council Member Kara Christensen and Council Member Catherine Cotton, as well as our City Mayor Ross, Mike Chambliss, City Administrator, and our amazing City Clerk, Dina Dean. Thank you much. We will be doing a couple things. Those of you joining us tonight, we're going to give you the opportunity to offer public comment. It's going to be 3 minutes each. I would imagine it may have a common theme, but we're here to hear your concerns. And if you have more to offer, please send those to either myself or to Clark Dean, and we'll make sure that that gets disseminated with the rest of the council members. This is an issue that we've taken up. If you're here on e-bikes, it's one that we took up a number of months ago, and we're kind of working through the process. We're very interested in hearing your thoughts on that as well. With that, I'm going to move to our first item of regular business, approving the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Cotton, second by Councilmember Christensen. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will accept the agenda as presented. And next, we will move on to public comments. Before we do, let me just go through a few of our ground rules. First of all, this is limited to public safety issues. Please wait to be recognized by the chair, that's me. Then come to the podium. We're going to ask you for your name and your address for the record. You will be given 3 minutes for comments. There's a little green light that turns on. I believe we have a yellow light when it's like 30 seconds left, somewhere around there, and then a red light when the 3 minutes is up. Please direct your comments to the committee as a whole rather than individuals. And we're here to hear your requests. What we may do at the end is, could we take a list, have a list available, Captain Horace, for people if they want follow-up to their comments? It's not something we normally do. I just like to make sure that we've got contact if you have other things that you'd like to discuss that we can follow up with on that. And please give us some grace because it may not be like tomorrow, it may be a few days, but your comments are going to be taken as very valid. So please bear with us as we make our way through this. And then, as I mentioned, you may also give us a written comment. Thank you, Chief Bailey, as well. So once everybody's had an opportunity to speak, I'll close the public comment period. But again, it's not the end of the discussion. We're not going to make decisions tonight necessarily, but we're interested in hearing that. So with that, I open this period for public comment. Who would like to go first? Raise a hand, please. Come on up. Thank you. And please give us your name and your address.
My name is Laura Clark. I live at 35227 Southeast Ridge Street in Snoqualmie. I may be the unpopular opinion here. We've lived and watched the Snoqualmie Ridge neighborhood grow up since 2003 in the same house and have raised our 3 children who are now ages 13, 17, and 19. We have absolutely loved everything the Valley has and continues to offer, especially the outdoor activities and adventures. I am advocating for the children today. First, I would like to address the recent postings regarding the e-motorcycles on the Snoqualmie Ridge Facebook group. Social media has gotten out of hand when everyone was cheering and celebrating that we got one. Why can't the family deal with that privately alongside the police, and why is it any of our business? I know that it is a reckless and he was dangerous. We are well aware, and we wish that you would just go to the police with your elation and excitement rather than posting it on Facebook first. They are doing a fine job, thank you, police, and have done a great job promoting to turn in any evidence that we have found. Adults say that these children on the ridge are entitled, yet some of these adults feel entitled and emboldened to post pictures of minor children without permission from them or their families. In addition, some of these pictures are taken while the adult is driving on the street and not focused on their actual driving. This in turn can also be considered as reckless, distracted, and dangerous behavior on the roads. I've been a substitute teacher with the district since 2017, subbing at least 2 times a week, and I've also been a long-term sub for 2 first grade, 2 fourth grade, a 5th grade class, and a music specialist teacher at the 2 local elementary schools on the Ridge, and had my own pod of 3rd graders at my house during COVID for 9 months. The kids need creative outlets to decompress and de-stress after a long day. We have brain breaks in the classroom throughout the day, just so the kids can move and stretch after an extended period of learning and sitting. I understand the recent safety issues and irresponsible actions that have come up with the e-motorcycles. There seems to be a trend of one kid ruining it for everyone else, whether it be in the classroom on e-motorcycles. My son has been riding his e-motorcycle since 2021 when COVID shut down our state. Not one person had an issue with his riding. In fact, adults come up to him and ask what kind of bike he had and what an absolutely fun thing to have to do outdoors. The police would also chat with him and never once mentioned or enforced any city codes or laws. He was being responsible and not bothering anyone. In fact, I'd be curious to know how many people actually went to the police with their concerns before this new crop of younger drivers came along. My son is a licensed driver and has been driving for the past year. He took a driver's ed course and is well versed in what the rules of the road are. Most adults here probably have not taken a driver's ed course since 15 or 16, yet we seem to excuse their poor driving in the neighborhood. Police should be focused on the individuals speeding through school zones with small children around, the cars that speed up and down the parkway with no mufflers in the middle of the night. I have lots more, so I can email or follow up.
Please do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Who would like to go next? We're a friendly bunch. Come on up. Please, thank you.
My name is Joanne Dyer. I live at 34602 Cottonwood Drive Southeast on Snoqualmie Ridge. Charles Vision is my husband. He is someone who was injured and put into the ER by a kid on an e-scooter. He was a very young kid. There was blood, there were stitches, there was a mild concussion, and it was not fun. He is here and he will tell you more about that in a little bit. I have notes here. First, I appreciate you all responding to the community's concerns. We really appreciate that. In my mind, I think there's a clear speed differential that makes these vehicles dangerous on our sidewalks. If I'm walking 3 miles per hour, I can't safely get out of the way of someone going 20 miles per hour. And I'm fairly young and able-bodied, but we have people out there who are not. And we have animals and we have young kids, people with disabilities and older people. I believe they're at risk on the sidewalks from these vehicles. Finally, I believe that the laws and the culture of caution and safety are lagging behind the use of these vehicles by children and teenagers. I'd like to see those factors catch up so that our sidewalks are safe for everybody. Okay, thank you.
Thank you much, Ms. Dyer. Mr. Dyer, would you care to follow? I'm sorry about your injury. That's
So officially, I'm Charles Vision, 34602 Cottonwood. Please call me Butch. So I guess my wife set me up pretty well. One of the features that we have, I've lived here since 2007. I've had dogs since 2007. We log about 6 miles a day as a general rule. So we see a lot of different things. Unfortunately, in September, I was out walking close to Tanner Jeans Park. A kid came whipping out of his driveway, and I didn't even see him and was clubbed, more or less. He knocked me about 6 foot rearward, opened up about 5 stitches on above my right eye, gave me a solid concussion, and I ended up heading home. Also, I lost all feeling in the right side of my face from the impact of the helmet hitting my face. I still do not have full feeling in my face at this point. He was 8 years old. Okay. So, and he was on his e-scooter. So here's the problem. So I didn't hear him. I didn't see him. I knew nothing about this. And the differential in speed between him and me caused every single ounce of my injuries. Um, as we have been walking a lot, we get passed very rapidly by people on e-bikes, on e-scooters, and on e-cycles. It happens every day, um, and we don't know that it happens because we don't hear them. So in many ways, part of the problem is that they are so quiet that you do not know that they're coming up from behind you. Um, we see people popping wheelies probably at least a couple times a week, pretty regularly. I drive home from work every day. Most days, a lot of days, I see them not stopping at stop signs. I see them blowing through walk zones. And the fact is I've gotten really close to hitting them myself. So I believe that one of our problems is that just the speed differential between things and the fact that some of the rules of the road are not happening is causing us to have this kind of confrontation between both pedestrians as well as sort of the cars at this point. I'm a non-social media person. I don't believe in putting a bunch of stuff on social media. Nobody even probably knows that I was hit, but I was. And I have the pictures to prove it. So I do think that we need to stop something because I will not be the last person to end up in the ER based on this.
All right. Thank you, Charles. Who would like to go next? Make another call. Anybody else either on e-bikes or other issues? This is all incredibly helpful as we try to figure out a path forward. So I'm going to give you another moment and then I'm going to close. And it can be on anything other than e-bikes too. So, all right. I presume everyone, please. No, please, please. We actually work with North Bend, and so whatever we end up doing here is going to likely have impact on North Bend.
As I sure.
Thank
My
you.
name's Jesse Smith, 740 Southeast 6th Place. I don't want to be here. I don't want to talk here. But I would say first, terrible, right? Nobody wishes anything bad happens to anyone, right? So it's, I'm hesitant to even make comments because I don't want to undermine your experience with it. So I'll preface with that. Moving forward, I would say that the state, this huge boom, this push for everyone to go net zero, electric everything has caused these things, right? Has caused the accessibility of batteries and put into all of our toys and made these things available, right? And so now the states are trying to catch up with legislation and local municipal and rules. Nobody's clear on it. No offense to the police department's not clear on it. Issaquah Police Department's not clear on it. Bellevue Police Department's not clear on it. I've talked to all the cities around here. They're unclear on difference in class 1, class 2, class 3. The city of Snoqualmie posts on their website that it is illegal for a electric motorcycle looking bike. I don't know who determines what looks like a motorcycle and what doesn't look like it. I think it's hard to impose legislation or impose impounding vehicles or fining 10-year-old kids money based on who thinks it looks like it today and who thinks it looks like it tomorrow. So I'd say the city of Snoqualmie needs to do a better job of being super clear on what the differentiation between these is. The other thing is, this is not unique to e-bikes. I see bicyclists, groups of 20 bicyclists not using the sidewalk, you know, running through stoplights, not obeying speed limits, right? It's the exact same thing. I've never seen a bicyclist ever pulled over. I've never seen a bicyclist bike impounded. I've never seen a bicyclist fined for their driving behavior. I've never seen public comment around bicyclists, right? So again, this is targeted to something that we don't personally agree with. Something scares us as a community. I don't think the solution is ban all. I think you had really good comment. We treat this just like we treat everything else. If somebody's breaking the law, deal with the person breaking the law. Don't make this an issue for everybody else. There's probably 70 kids up here with e-bikes. There might be more. And the ones you guys are talking about are 2 or 3. That's it. And so the rest that have worked 2 summer jobs, saved up thousands of dollars to go do this, you guys in one sweeping judgment have taken everything away. We're pulling over 10-year-olds and we're wondering why they're scared of the police and why they want to run. They're 10 years old. The amount of harassment that these kids get, cussing out from parents, the online bullying from parents about how these are rotten kids, their parents should be in jail. It's disgusting as a community. It sucks to listen to. And I would like to, as a follow-up, what can we do about the harassment for young kids? The following kids around public parks, taking pictures of kids and posting on social media, to me is more concerning than electric scooters.
Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate it. Other comments? I'm going to be like the auctioneer, going once. We'll welcome your comments. We do have a presentation, which I hope you stick around for, from the police department. But we definitely wanted to hear your comments first. And after this meeting, if you want to hang out outside, we've got another meeting starting at 6 o'clock. So, but we want to make sure that all voices are heard. This is not an easy topic. I've witnessed it over the last week as well, and there, I have an idea that it may be more prevalent than we understand, and I think that there's also needs to be a bit of self-policing by parents. Some of this has been caused because a lot of our families, both parents work outside the valley and kids are at home, and kids will do what they'll do. And it's like, okay, where do we find that happy medium? So thank you very much. With that, I'm going to call for the closure of the public comments at this time. But again, please reach out to us. And with that, public comments are closed. I'm going to make my own very quick report to the committee and those that are present. Friday night, I got to spend 8 hours between 6 p.m. and 2 a.m. doing a ride along. It was kind of interesting. We did see some of the kids out on bicycles and e-bikes after dark. So I know that it's prevalent and it's in both cities. We spent more time actually over in North Bend than we did here in Snoqualmie. So it does affect across both cities. So with that, I'm going to move on to minutes, improving the minutes dated March 17th, 2025. Council members, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Cotton, second by Councilmember Christensen. Any comments or revisions to the minutes? Hearing none, we will accept the minutes as presented. And without further ado, I'm going to call on Acting Police Chief Horace to give tonight's presentation that might help with some of our e-bike discussion. So good evening, Chief.
Good evening. I will be, so this thing doesn't die on us. Good evening, Mayor Ross, council members, community members that have joined us. I'm Interim Chief Gary Horace, and today we're gonna kind of talk about the e-bikes and electric motorcycles. It has become a very big topic, especially with last week being spring break and the weather getting nice. But it has been going on for a little bit, and we've had several calls over it, since I've been here just over a year now. I want to start with kind of defining what these devices are. The electric bicycles are electric assisted bicycles. They're defined under RCW 4604169, and they are bicycles with 2 or 3 wheeled, a saddle, fully operational pedals, and propelled by humans with an electric motor. That is a pretty simple generic term or definition for them. One of the things that defines them between the electric motorcycles is their power supply. Electric bicycles do not have more than a 750 watt electric motor. There are 3 classes of electric bicycles, and there's a diagram up here. There's class 1, 2, and 3. Class 1 bicycles are pedal assisted. Class 2 bicycles are pedal assisted and also have a throttle generally up on the handlebars. And then a class 3 is just a pedal assisted. The difference between the class 1, 2, and the 3 are their maximum speeds with the assistance of the electric motors. Class 1 and 2, the electric motor will stop at 20 miles an hour, and then it's all pedal operated after that. Class 3s are 28 miles an hour. So that's your higher speed bicycle. Class 1 electric bikes are only propelled forward with the assistance of the rider, and they don't have that button. They look similar to what's up there on those images. A class 2, you'll see on the right-hand picture there that's what the throttle looks like, or some variation of a throttle on that handle. And once again, those bikes will stop providing assistance at 20 miles an hour for the class 1 and 2. Class 3s are a little heavier in weight. They will accelerate up to 28 miles an hour, and they generally have some type of speedometer that is a factory speedometer on them. Now I kind of want to get into the electric motorcycle. These are different, they look different, and they have a horsepower rating. The horsepower rating on them is not to exceed 5 brake horsepower. Now, deep dive into that, they can reach up to 100 miles an hour depending on how they're equipped. So they have a much larger motor. They look like a dirt bike. They are classified as a motorcycle per the RCW, and that is under 4604.332. That actual chapter is designated as a motor-driven cycle. That is important for a discussion we're going to have here in a minute. This is the picture up there on the screen is the bike that we're having the most issues with. These are the bikes that are running around downtown Snoqualmie, up on the ridge, and on the parkway, popping wheelies in the intersections, and it is exactly like the one that we stopped the other day who cut off cars, ran a stop sign, and then went down the stairs in front of Safeway. That is what that bike looked like. We posted only a picture of that. Those bikes, as I stated, can go up to 100 miles an hour or more. One of the things I want to articulate here is they are motorcycles. That means they are only legal for road use if the owner obtains a license plate, registers them, gets insurance. They are treated just like a motorcycle. They are no different than a dirt bike. Therefore, they fall under RCW laws, and that's what we've been enforcing. They are not to be used on sidewalks because they are classified as a motor vehicle. They're not to be used in bike lanes because they are a motor vehicle. They can't be used in parks and trails. They are a motor vehicle. That is the easiest way for me to describe them. We don't, if a dirt bike, if you, go ahead.
I was gonna say finish, but my question was, is this something that the operator needs to have a motorcycle endorsement on a license?
If it is classified as a motorcycle and motor vehicle, the RCW states that you cannot operate it under 16 years of age. So yes. And that is one thing that you will see articulated through the process is it says under the age of 16 are not allowed to operate those. So I'll go back to that one. The bike in question from the other day was exactly like this. It was operating on the roadway. It wasn't operating on a sidewalk or any of that until it got into the parking lot. However, it did cut off a bicycle or several cars and things like that. So those are RCW enforceable actions. What I was going to say a minute ago too was that dirt bikes have to go through a process to be legal for roadway use. They do not come from the factory. They are not sold at a dealer ready for the road. You have to register them and make sure that they have all the proper lighting and all the other stuff that goes with them. And this is all articulated throughout the RCWs. This is our municipal code. Our municipal code covers the wheeled recreational devices. Those are devices that are propelled, that propel the person using the object and include, but are not limited to, bicycles, skates, skateboards that are powered by gravity, hand, foot, pedal, power, internal combustion, or electric motors. However, they have the limits on the wattages and horsepowers as described earlier. Our current municipal code covers the wheeled recreational devices, but it does not include motorcycles, motor-driven cycles, and mopeds as examples. Those are covered under the RCWs, which are listed in this, on this slide. We have, over the last 16 months, we have had 63 calls for service in Snoqualmie for either an e-bike or an e-motorcycle, where officers have responded to those calls. In most cases, we have been trying to do education. Educating the juveniles, educating the parents that where it's to be used, how it's to be used, and so on. I myself have stopped several up on Fairway at the Parkway as they were getting ready to pull into their driveway. They had gone from Snoqualmie over to North Bend. It's a simple education. However, as seen over the last week, that behavior of following the rules of the road or operating in a safe manner kind of went out the door in a lot of cases. We had numerous calls where they were popping wheelies. I received several videos of them running down the parkway, weaving in and out of traffic and things like that. And I'm talking groups of 5 or 6. And then of course we got the one who we are charging for the reckless driving. One of the things that is at our discretion, and this mostly covered, as stated a minute ago, it covers for those operating the Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 bikes, is our discretion to communicate with the parents. Our ordinance allows us to contact a parent, provide the juvenile a warning, provide the parent a warning, and if necessary, impound the bicycle. I have yet to impound a bicycle in the year that I've been here, unless there's a criminal charge accompanying that, as we had last week. So there's a lot of discretion here. We have been utilizing that discretion, trying to help educate where they can be used, and mostly on the safety of their operations. So some of them aren't wearing helmets, things like that. Those are required in our municipal code. It's not listed in here, but it's a long section, and for the purpose of this meeting, I didn't put every subsection in there. One of the subsections in our municipal code covers the responsibility of parents. And I'll cover section A right now under 1035-060, and that is, it is unlawful for any parent or guardian or other person having control or custody of a minor child to authorize or knowingly permit said minor to operate a motorized foot scooter, wheeled recreational device in violation of this chapter. It goes on to state that after being provided a written warning to the parent, anything beyond or a second or third or fourth or fifth offense can result in a misdemeanor charge. So when we're notifying, those are things that we're considering. I don't want to arrest 8, 10, 12-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-olds for bicycle violations. However, safety comes first. Not only their safety or the community safety, it's everybody's safety. The one thing I do not want to respond to, or I do not want my officers responding to, is a vehicle versus pedestrian accident where a child was hit. That is one of my worst fears, and it's one of my guys' worst fears. So we are trying, and we have been doing education. We've posted through both our social media platforms and through the city's multiple posts of what is legal, what is not. Earlier tonight, there was a statement of the e-motorcycles are illegal. They're not legal for operational use unless you meet the requirements. No different than a UTV or an ATV. In order for those to be legal, they have to meet the operational requirements set forth by the law. Once those are met, that is a different ballgame at that point. So what do things look like going forward? I'm continuing to work with the city attorney to make sure that our municipal code is up to speed. There is a lot of area through the RCWs that kind of make things, give areas of some grayness as far as what is what. So we're working with both city attorneys in North Bend and Snoqualmie to kind of weed through those. I do agree with a statement made earlier that things kind of got left behind by the state legislators. So however, there is a section in the law that says it is also up to the municipality to further define that. We're going to continue enforcing the RCWs and the SMCs to address safety concerns in our community, because safety is our primary responsibility. We're going to continue our social media campaign as far as what is safe, what is not. And we're going to have extra patrols that are concentrated in our high volume areas. One of those high volume areas is on Center and down on Railroad here. We're also working with the Snoqualmie Valley School District and the ROA to help release educational material because I want the kids to know what they can do, what they can't do. And we're creating the warning flyers to help educate offenders and parents and continue moving forward so that we have a safe community. And then lastly, we're working with the Snoqualmie City prosecutors and the King County prosecutors to help increase support for enforcement actions when needed. Through this, there's always concerns around King County Prosecutor's Office in juvenile cases for law enforcement. Doesn't matter what the charge is. So those things, there's gaps we have to bridge in that area, because this is a section that was left behind, and it's kind of fallen to us to kind of clean up the pieces. What I want to say is this is not something that we are out there trying to hem up and get in trouble every juvenile out there. There are those that are habitual offenders that we've had regular issues with. There are those who have run from us, and we will not pursue them. It is not the safety risk, the risk is not worth the reward. And I would much rather have a conversation with a parent where the parent's going to say, I understand, and we're going to address this problem. Those are my goals. Those are the goals of the department so that we can provide a safe community. This is not a, we're gonna go out and hammer everybody. But we have to work as a team, both us, council, the state, and the parents, and those who have concerns over this. So with that, I will take any questions you may have.
Questions from the council members? Yes, Councilmember Cotton.
Chief, is there, because I don't think I noticed it when I read through the codes, but is there a age for the kids, juveniles, as far as wearing a helmet? Like, is there a certain age where, I mean, unfortunately, there's adults that don't wear helmets either, but, and they know better, supposedly. Is there, you know, any ages or that help you with the enforcement of?
So technically you answered the question because it's for adults as well. So specific age, there's not one. Motorcycles will fall under motorcycle laws, which will require a helmet. Bicycles, there are laws on the books for those helmets, and it doesn't matter if you're 5, 8, 20, 30, 60, 80. So a lot of times with the kids, you know, last year we started the Safe Rider program, where we handed out ice cream certificates for those who were wearing helmets. That gained a lot of traction. Again, I'm not looking at punishing kids, I'm looking at educating. And that was part of that program. I would eventually like to see that program expanded a little bit to where we have an educational class on bike safety. Kind of taking off from when Snoqualmie did the bike rodeo and kind of tie these two in together. But there is, helmet laws apply to everybody.
Councilmember Christensen, do you have any questions or comments?
Sure. If we're going back and talking about the enforcement through the RCWs, which is the Revised Code of Washington, and we're talking about potentially if we're having multiple run-ins with the parents who are failing to work with their children to address this in a family level, is that something where we would have to go through the King County Prosecutor's Office in order to get relief?
So anything that's a misdemeanor, as stated so when I stated that if we gave the warning, it would be a misdemeanor, that would go through Snoqualmie, or
Okay.
from our prosecutor, which is contracted out of Issaquah.
There is one.
I haven't had any of those yet. I think for the most part, with the exception of a handful of parents, most of the parents have taken our advice and listened to our concerns. Because they're also concerned about the safety of their kids when they're running in and out of traffic and let's say off a railroad. And the video that I received was, you know, I'll be honest, was quite frightful. And I would have had it here today if I could blur out the faces on there just so you could see what was being done. But between getting in the roadway and getting on the sidewalk, out of all of them, there was only really one parent that didn't seem to be too concerned. I think everybody else was very attentive to what we were having to say. So it would go through the misdemeanor side, not the King County side. Only with those that are under the age of 18, with the juveniles, would that go to King County.
Thank you. And then
Yes,
Okay.
please.
do we have a breakdown of the number of calls that have come through for the e-motorcycles versus the class 1, 2, and 3 e-bikes or scooters?
I don't offhand. I got a total number for tonight, but we can break that down and I can email that to you.
Okay, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Councilmember Cotton, do you have anything else to add?
No, I realize that it's, you know, one of these issues, unfortunately, when we tend to get the most feedback from our residents is when something is directly affecting them in usually a negative way. And so you know, this is not the ideal situation where we want to get that any kind of input into, what's happening on the committees. But as, has been stated here today, public safety is first and foremost in our minds. And, whatever we can do to help mitigate and make sure that there is, consistency across the valley as far as, the information that's being put out there and how it's being enforced, I think is really important.
And that's one of my goals. That's why I'm working with both cities' attorneys, because Snoqualmie and North Bend, I mean, we are the police department for both cities. And so I need to be able to enforce equally. I will add that, I mean, we had 63 calls in a year and 4 months. That's less than one a week if you divide it out. Granted, I had multiple last week because the sun was out, it was spring break. So, there are those times, but in essence, I mean, that's a small number of calls for service that we've received for those. And so there is the group of kids out there that are doing things right. But again, there are those that are doing things that are not right. And again, I don't want to respond to a vehicle versus pedestrian or bicyclist where we're having to do a notification to somebody's parents.
Councilmember Cotton.
Do you find that with, okay, that just went right out of my mind. No, with some of these cases where you're getting more education out there, there's, like you said, on social media and such, do you find that people are calling more? Because sometimes it's like people shoot videos or post things on social media instead of actually calling the police, which is very frustrating for everybody involved because that doesn't solve the problem or notify people of what's going on. So have you found that recently besides last week, that there's been more people calling in?
There has been. I think part of it is an educational piece. I also think the community is getting frustrated and seeing them, seeing these e-motorcycles. And I'll be honest, the biggest problem we have is the e-motorcycle. It's not the e-bikes that are more prevalent right now. Since October, we've seen the uptick. Prior to that, the call volume was a little less. So since October, the numbers have kind of increased on us. And I think part of it is the education because we started pushing a lot of stuff out last summer on the class 1, 2, and 3 bikes. And then I think, like I said, there's just a frustration because people are, getting, they're buzzing by people on the trails. They're cutting through, we had a report last week that they were going diagonally across Douglas and the Parkway, popping wheelies between, cutting across. That's not even a marked crosswalk. You're cutting across 4 lanes of travel on one street and 3 lanes on the other side. So it increases the odds. And yes, it's probably a group of just a select few. However, if we don't do something about it, it's going to spread. And that's what's kind of happened as we see more and more. And we've started, we're continuing to do the education. We've reached out to the school district. We've reached out, to the ROA to kind of help put stuff out in their newsletters and through the parent portal and just do more education so nobody's getting hurt.
All right. Thank you very much, Captain Orese. I will, for point of reference and just try to frame things up here a little bit, Chief Lynch and City Attorney Dina Burke and I met, and I believe it was probably January or so we were discussing this. One of the challenges is looking at other jurisdictions that have address this so that we can be consistent. And I've talked to some of council members in other jurisdictions as well outside the valley. And it just seems to be a very, very new thing. I mean, we do have the existing RCWs, state law, as well as what's in our city code. And here's the other thing is, and please forgive me, because I ride a bicycle and I go up the parkway, but it's total pedal. And I can understand people wanting like class one pedal assist. I would like that. You know, going up the parkway, I really, and I don't have experience, that I doubt you can get it up to 20 miles an hour going up the parkway. It's coming down the parkway that is probably more problematic. You go from 20 miles an hour in class one, class two, and of course you have to pedal those things. It's not like it's a motorized thing. But then you get to 28 miles an hour on a class three. Is that the right place? And then the next thing I think of is Center Boulevard. And you can ride your bike either on the street or on the sidewalk. And I have ridden on the sidewalk. However, not through Ridge Street, where there are doors that open up. And that's where it becomes really kind of tricky is where do you, how do you sign these? How do you enforce it? A lot of it has to be education, but then you get to the e-bikes and, here parents are paying $7,000, leaving these e-bikes behind. And I have to think that when you sell an e-bike as a retailer, you have to tell and inform the buyer, hey, this, is only to be ridden by people with driver's license and all that and the motorcycle thing. I just only assume that. But it's just coming back to this whole thing about common sense, what makes sense. And I don't want to discourage kids from riding bikes. I do kind of question when somebody's on a scooter and they don't have to do anything for it to move. And then I noticed that last night, and it's like, here's a 7, 8-year-old on an e-scooter. And it's like, well, it's great they're out having fresh air. So it's trying to find that balance between all that and have other ordinances to take a look at. I would venture to say we're not done, and I'm kind of curious on comments from Councilmember Cotton and Christensen.
Well, I think obviously this is gonna be part of a fuller discussion. We're gonna need to go back, we're gonna need to see what the other municipalities are doing, and we're gonna need to see what our city attorney recommends. I know that when we talked in the past, we talked about updating the code and some additional penalties if folks are not complying with the law. I will say that I do own a class 2 bike, and I put about 800 miles on it, going to North Bend to go to coffee or taking my daughter to school. I drive very responsibly, and I wouldn't like to see other folks who are also being responsible penalized or unable to use the wonderful multimodal transportation options that we have in the city. But I think that there does need to be a balance, and I think that especially for a small number of the folks that are living here, we're gonna have to take some action on it one way or another. So before someone does get hurt.
Okay.
Obviously, my wish would be that the parents would handle this themselves, but it's not at that point necessarily.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
I think we're past it.
Councilmember Cotton.
I totally agree with what Councilmember Christensen is saying. Excellent points that everybody's made. Is there also consideration about maybe making these motorized devices, kind of banned in certain areas? Is that something we can consider, like certain parks where it's, there's being damage done, or that, certain roadways or what have you, where that would theoretically help, or at least have it posted as such?
Those conversations have come up, especially after last week when one of our courts was damaged by one of these bikes. So that is something that was being discussed between the two city attorneys. So that's something that requires a lot of work for zoning and things like that, and that's kind of their realm. And I give the advice as far as what we're seeing. And so that's something that can be addressed and can be tackled, but yeah.
I mean, what's that?
Right. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's just, we do have to keep it to the council and part of it is because we're on speaker and it's a recorded session, but you're absolutely right in providing that context after the meeting. So with that, thank you very much, Captain Arce. Um, items for future discussion, I want to make sure that we highlight a couple that have come up. One is new technologies. We've talked about speed cameras. Block cameras in critical areas is something else that I'd like for us to go back and take a look at, Captain Arce. And the other one that I want to add to that is the use of drones that is starting to happen in other areas, both for fire and police, as a safety measure. And then the other one, um, Interim Chief Horace, and that's scheduling our next joint public safety meeting with North Bend, and we can figure that out. Is there anything else, council, to come up for future agendas? Well, let me know if there is. So with that, we have come down to the end of our meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Cotton, second by Councilmember Christensen. All in favor signify by saying aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much for being here this evening. We are adjourned at 5:52 PM.